Hello guys, welcome to the Trading Parrot. Bullish catalyst have managed to move the price of Bitcoin $2,000 this morning. We're going to have a look at the news. We're going to have a look at the socials, other channels in YouTube, what they're saying, and more importantly, what my community wants to know about this recent move. Are all those bullish catalysts about to push the price into higher levels? We just reclaimed the 4-hour, and on the daily, we just did a successful retest of a breakout. So I think it's worth having a look. Guys, if you like this type of content, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. Hit the notification bell to get notified every time I put out one of these videos. And later today, guys, I'm going to have a special live video with Matt from Bitcoin Magazine Pro. We're going to be doing 1 hour full of not just TA, but we are also gonna revisit on-chain data and see what's the healthiness of the network, see how things are looking as we enter into 2026. Do not miss it. If you can, hit the notify me. That also helps the channel to show this live event to more people. So let's start with the most important news in the past 48 hours. We have a move that has managed to hit 107K, and we got a rejection back into the daily support at 102.8, as we were talking about in the video last night. That has already happened, and now this morning we are starting to see some recovery. All of this potentially is associated with the bullish catalyst that we've been talking about, the government coming to an end of the shutdown, the printing money, the $400 billion that could hit 85% of the adults in the US. We also have another bullish event incoming in here. This is a 7 out of 10 rare liquidity pattern that precedes every major cycle, every major rally since 2020 re-emerges. And we're talking about a ratio between Bitcoin to stablecoin. It's called the Stablecoin Supply Ratio, SSR. Let's have a quick look at this. I'm actually curious. So apparently this stablecoin supply ratio shows areas where everything is allocated primarily into stablecoins, and that has happened at least 4 times this cycle, not to mention that in the middle of 2021, right before the next all-time high, we also have such an event. So it's worth looking, but it's also worth considering when it fails what happens. Because, for example, in here you can see before we entered the bear market in this dead cat bounce into 48K, we were also in an area where the SSR was very low level. Like in this cycle, we were hovering around the level of 10. In this cycle, we've been bouncing around the level of 13 in average. That's kind of the band. And that's precisely where we are sitting today. So that could be bullish in a way if it plays out again. Remember that that's like flipping a coin, not because you are in the same level of the signal. It needs to play out every time the same way. In 2021, at some point, it broke. Bitcoin ETFs record 524 million net inflows. BlackRock ibit leads with 224, single-day record. 11-day Solana streak continues. So that is also contributing to the bullishness of the day. So I wanted to focus on really what's driving the price today. And I found a few elements that I want to run with you. Some of them have to do with the macros, not just with the US economy. Bitcoin surged approximately 2,000 this morning, Wednesday, 12th of November, climbing from around 102.7, I think it was, into 105, 106 level. So we are already witnessing a potential retry of breaking that 106.5. This rally is occurring alongside broader risk on sentiment, with general equity markets also posting gains. So Bitcoin in here is not just having a solo heroic move to the upside, it's just following what the general markets are currently doing. And general markets are expecting some relief rally based on all those bullish catalysts. Several converging factors are driving this coordinated move higher across risk assets. The most important ones, which we have already mentioned, the primary catalyst is to do with the growing optimism around the ending the record-breaking U.S. government shutdown. The Senate advanced a procedural measure bringing a funding bill closer to approval, and that seems to be the most important catalyst. Markets responded enthusiastically to this development on Monday and Tuesday. The S&P 500 climbed 1.5%, the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 1% to a record high, while the tech-heavy Nasdaq rallied 2.27%. This is how we close the general markets. Remember that yesterday we already have a big move on the Magnificent Seven, so things are balancing out now. If we look at the S&P, we can see that we are on pre-market on the daily having a positive move from 683 to 684, and on the Nasdaq is very decent. Now we are at 25,681 versus 25,533. Nikkei also posted some positive moves overnight. Pre-market prices. Remember, in my technical video, I perfectly explained the levels that we need to defend. I'm not gonna go in detail on that on this video, which is supposed to be about social news, fundamentals, and community. So this includes not just American markets, but also Asia. Japan's Nikkei gained 0.4%, Hong Kong 0.8%. The broader base rally reflects investors' relief that fiscal uncertainty is diminishing and key economic functions will resume. And that is confirmed by the inflows that we saw in the ETFs that were pretty decent. After many days of outflows in the red, we finally had a 524 on the 11th of November, and that is pretty reassuring. The dollar weakness typically benefits Bitcoin and risk assets broadly, as it reduces the opportunity cost of holding non-yielding assets and signals easier financial conditions ahead. So Bitcoin has been pretty much only going sideways all this period in November, contrarian to the typical narrative of October-November pattern. The cryptocurrency is down approximately 20% from its early October record of 126, to be honest, having entered a technical correction after unexpected tariff announcements. The convergence of positive catalysts, and we're talking about the shutdown resolution, institutional accumulation, dollar weakness, which I'm not fully sure I buy fully into the dollar weakness, because the dollar is still hovering around those levels where it can still eventually do the layer 2 breakout and hit 105. That is to be determined, I will say, at the very least. And the Fed easing expectation, those all together appear to be breaking Bitcoin out of its consolidation phase, hopefully to the upside for the longs. The key question is whether this rally is going to sustain the momentum up until 108 and 10. That is where we have qualified the bigger resistance level. My line in the sand is 107, but I think once we get in there, in between the two VWAPs and the point of control, we will really see what happens. And again, I have another issue of the Crypto Intelligence Report, tracking 30 plus channels in YouTube and summarizing them, sending them in a nice article to everybody for free. This specific issue contains different voices from different channels, including Ben, that is saying that Ethereum's structural weakness has now extended over 3 years against BTC ratio, requiring a breakout for bullish confirmation, emphasizing this is one of Ethereum's most challenging periods relative to Bitcoin in its history. Gareth Soloway enters some levels that he is considering to buy the dip, and my financial friend emphasized on the fact that the Fed has an impossible dilemma to solve. The 7.4 trillion in money market funds will rotate into risk assets as rate cuts continue, but these same cuts fuel an AI bubble while failing to revive the real economy, where the GDP growth has collapsed essentially 0% in 2025 despite falling rates. You can read this particular issue, you can read any issue of this series of blog posts You can find them in YouTube, Telegram, in my Twitter, and of course you can read the full report, which is 100 times longer than this, including every single video from yesterday and every single topic across multiple channels in a single analysis and compact. All for free. Well, the full report is for my Patreon community, of course. We got more crypto online saying that the death cross on Bitcoin isn't necessarily as bearish as it sounds. In this cycle, it has mostly marked oversold phases, not new downtrends. There's going to be a lot of debate around the golden cross. I think this is to do with the 50 against the 200 moving average on the daily. Correct me if I'm wrong. I really don't track really dead crosses and golden cross because, as we all know, those are lagging indicators and just show you what already happened 30 to 60 days ago, which we already know it's been sideways to bearish. Now, the point is whether we can do one of these recovery phases with another impulsive wave to the upside, and that's what we are tracking at the moment with that daily breakout, with the 4-hour potential fake out this day to the downside, a potential bear trap if you want. There's a vacuum under Bitcoin, 2 CME gaps. Everybody is tracking that as well. That still stands. And Roman is expecting to see a confirmed breakdown in this area since we lost that level of previous resistance that could now turn again into resistance. And that is roughly around the 106 to 107. So everybody has their eyes in that level. Ali is talking about 328 days remaining for Bitcoin to reach the market bottom. So he's starting to sound like we are already in a bear market and he's trying to look for what's going to be the next market bottom. Let me know in the comments, do you agree with 38K or 50K as the next market bottom? If not, if you can provide a range that you have in mind. Satoshi Staker is talking about Bitcoin nearing the dead cross, and you can see in the past 2 weeks, the 50 moving average on the weekly was the king of all conversations. Now this death cross is spanning across not just largest channel, but also the smaller ones. CryptoQuant is showing us the net unrealized profit. The NOOP is signaling a potential bottom, currently sitting at 0.476. The metric suggests that selling pressure has significantly eased, indicating that we may be approaching a short-term market bottom. Very interesting. Alongside with other signals, we are always going to get some that do some echoes of previous signals in the bull market that play out, and you're going to look at them and you're going to think, well, this is a pretty obvious one. It's going to play out the same. Please do not make that mistake. Signals trigger multiple times during a bull market in a same way. You can get them 3 times in a row, 4 times in a row, 5 times in a row. It doesn't matter. That series each time has less likelihood of playing out, particularly if you have a series of multiple events. At some point it's going to break. I don't remember my class of probabilities and stochastic. This was more than 20 years ago, but I remember there was some theory about that. If you're a mathematician, if you can refresh my mind, that will be fantastic. Bitcoin lost a crucial level. Bulls failed to reclaim 106. I'm not so sure. There's been so far a failure to do that, okay? I qualify that as the battle number 1 was lost. And we talk about getting a bull flag and put in ideally defending the 4-hour. We didn't defend the 4-hour in the way that we wanted. You can see in here very clearly that we took a bullet, but we took a bullet from the most bullish support, okay? Technically, this guy can go up until 40 and still, manage to fake out. After all, we are used to watching the 4-hour time frame, and there is countless events like this in the bull market. We don't even get surprised. What surprised me more is if we fake out on the daily in here. The daily tends to be more quality signal, and we have already done the retest. So this move that he's saying we fail, look at this on the other side. Do you see something failing in here? On the daily, there's still no failure. On the 4-hour, there's been a fake out, but we have so often fake outs that how can I qualify really this move just as a failure? Anyways, I guess he's talking about the price action and not the momentum. In the momentum, we still don't have a failure. So there's still on the table an opportunity to go to the upside. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. And before I let you go, I was about to let the most important people on earth, which is my community, and I want to go into the questions that they have because they're always very interesting and they really contribute to me to look into more aspects that are also important. Yonut says, is it 95K still on the table after we didn't touch the daily support? Okay, correction. I think we touched the daily support on the momentum. That gap of 1 on the RSI doesn't count as we didn't do the retest. I think we did a retest. That is a perfect retest. You can even put a line like this and say, yeah, that does it to me. As long as this intra-candle remains up, that could turn into a pivot. Ideally, we want this guy to put a new high there at 47, and then it's absolutely more clear that that's a pivot. Or even better, if we get multiple candles in a row, 3 days in a row up, that is eventually going to be seen in the past as the perfect retest. Can we still fake out on the daily? Of course, we can always fake out still on the daily, but having already had one retest decreases that chances. By how much? 99? No, but maybe we have now 10% less chances that we fake out on the daily. If we look at the BTC South gold chart, it seems to be sitting on a support level and could potentially bounce from here. Do you think there's a potential for capital to rotate from gold into Bitcoin? Yeah, there is that potential. Remember that tends to happen, but it has happened more consistently when you're starting a bull market in the first year around the halving rather than on the end of a cycle. In a topping year, you tend to have gold and Bitcoin both going down. But anyways, let's look at some ratios and let's see the actual charts. This is weekly of gold versus Bitcoin, and you can see that it has the ratio peak there after a retest. So definitely you can see that Bitcoin is losing strength against the gold still on the weekly. It's currently at a level of support right there, and there is a potential for Bitcoin to produce a breakout from here. If Bitcoin does a breakout from here, it could take some value out of gold. Now remember that gold and Bitcoin are assets against the dollar moving, so they can both move down. What I'm trying to say is you could potentially get a double bottom in there and get Bitcoin to outperform gold, but they can both crash together down. So if you can chew gum and walk at the same time, use that skill set to understand what I'm trying to say. Both assets falling, but Bitcoin still potentially breaking out against gold. Is that what you really want? Well, that depends on what's your strategy of accumulating gold and Bitcoin. In the monthly, we see that now we have the momentum lower than the low that we had in March. So Bitcoin has already accelerated in the scenario of entering in a bear market against gold. You can see in here that what we did in the past cycle, we had a dead cat bounce back up. In here, we have the dead cat bounce already playing out. This is on the monthly, and we already hit the level of 62. And instead of reclaiming there, now that we are in November, we are at a way lower level in a potential clear channel down. So we are already in a channel like this below the support of the bull market. So if you look each support 1, retest down, retest non-touching down, retest touching down with a new all-time high there. And where are we? We are here at 46. So that needs to now reset at around 39, and that is the bottom of the momentum of Bitcoin against gold. That's where we are at the moment. So I think there can be a swing high from here. Don't get me wrong, there can be a swing high, but in the context of this crashing Bitcoin against gold at the moment. Nikkei and DAX are green and the US pre-market is up. Do we bounce from here for another attempt to 107? I think that is quite likely. Of course, I don't know the future. I don't know what's going to happen, and I really don't rely on knowing that for profiting. So I think there is a good chance if the general markets continue to the upside, Bitcoin is going to follow them. Good morning. What do you think of the incoming death cross and how is it giving way for a bit of upside this cycle? I don't really care that much about tracking death crosses. There's a debate out there whether it's bad, whether it's been good, and I think it's a lagging indicator. So I care a lot more about what the RSI is doing on different time frames. If you ask me, we already have a long list of things that are calling for a bear market. So I remain skeptical about, continuing all the way into Q2. But if we do that, I already ran along in case I'm wrong. Siri saying, slight off topic, in incoming months, years where AI agents will be able to do trading 24/7 and they will have access to all the data and charts, which we all are referring to right now. Will be nice to know if and how are you preparing for such scenarios. Yeah, I don't think there's much preparation I can do really, apart from embracing it as part of my methodology to make myself faster, to have more tools. Basically, I want to be someone that really is good at using AI, and I already do that. Part of that is the reports I'm producing, the spam management system that I built just with vibe coding, and that's why our channel doesn't have almost any spam. And I continue to build things in spare time, just talking to my phone, and my computers are working at home and doing the commits and all the code. And at some point I wanted to build trading bots with that tech, but that is really difficult and it requires a lot more time than any other project. So for now, embracing it and learning how to squeeze the last lemon drop out of AI is my approach, and then using it for trading as a companion complementary thing. What is the reason for the minor pump this morning? That we cover extensively. There's a bunch of speculative ideas out there, but primarily the government the shutdown coming to an end and potentially that being traded at the moment. Now, whether that's going to be a sell the news once the government goes back on, maybe we can get some cold shower information out there, who knows? And if we get those things, maybe it turns into a sell the news. We need to be prepared for anything. Team Monday says, feels like market maker is just trying to liquidate some close shorts and longs before taking bigger liquidation, perhaps waiting for Friday or the weekend. Well, let's have a very quick look at trading different. Let's zoom in here and let's see what are the liquidations in close proximity. Because we know already that over 120, and we know as well that around mid-90s we also have the biggest one. But if we are at very close proximity and we exclude sub 100k, we have a chunk at 108 that is becoming pretty big. And it could be that if this survives this move, and let's see, where are we as a Fibonacci retracement from top to bottom. So we are about to put a close in the golden pocket. If we put a close around 105 to 105.5, we increase dramatically the chances that we go also for this liquidity there. Notice that this there was bigger than that one, but still, if we exclude everything, close proximity, 108 is the biggest. Alright guys, this concludes the video. I hope you enjoy this video that is less technical and more oriented to social news community. If you did enjoy it, you know what to do. Hit the like, subscribe, and comment down below. That always helps these videos to get to more than just 100 subscribers per month, which is really crazy to just have that. Last month, that's what we had. So if you can help, please do. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.